To all you sports fans, did you know you can stream this podcast on Spotify right now? It's easy. Open the app on your mobile device or desktop, click on the Browse channel, then click on the podcast section. You can also stream on your smart speaker. Now, it's that much easier for you to stay up to date on all the latest and greatest in all things sports, thanks to Spotify.
I'm the best corner in the game.
The 49ers and Sherman reached agreement.
When you try me with a third receiver like Crabtree, that's the result you're going to get.
Adam Schefter just tweeted that Michael Bennett has been traded.
The Giants and the NFL are aware of a potentially troubling video involving Odell that was leaked Friday.
We all acknowledge that this athletic career lifespan is a short window.
He's waiting to see if Arizona State's in there.
Ball game. We dancing, baby. Yee!
What you see may change your perception of any sporting event. Get this. Shoot this.
"68 teams are dancing, but the questions begin about those left out." Welcome to Outside the Lines. I'm Ryan Smith in for Bob Lee. Well, the field is set. Get ready for the bracket-busting madness that you've been waiting for all year. Virginia, Villanova, Kansas, Xavier, all on top of their respective regions with no consensus on who is the nation's top team. Now, this past weekend's run-up to the tournament filled with all the drama that makes championship weekend one of the best in sports. Providence overtime loss to Villanova was so intense, Friars coach Ed Cooley sacrificed his pants.
Yeah, when I sat down, I felt a great breeze in the crack. You know.
And after the announcements of who's in, celebrations abound. Bobby Hurley and Arizona State took a swim, and the Sun Devils' opening round opponent, Syracuse, well, they couldn't believe they received what turned out to be the final ticket to the dance. But as usual, controversy took center stage as well. The NCAA's new quadrant system, designed to put more value in road and neutral site wins, part of the consideration for tournament spots along with RPI. But the result, a banner day for the Power Five. The ACC, the Big 12, the SEC, either tying or setting a record for the number of teams in the tournament, much to the chagrin of mid-majors like St. Mary's and Middle Tennessee State.
Now the Power Five conferences are just fixing to play more conference games. And all they're doing is trying to weed out the mid-major, and I guess you can't blame them because all they're trying to do is get more quadrant road and home wins or more opportunities. So that's why the Big Ten is going to 20 conference games.
And three teams that seemed somewhat likely to make the tournament, Louisville, USC, Oklahoma State, all on the outside looking in, all under investigation stemming from that FBI recruiting scandal. Coincidence? ESPN basketball analyst Jay Williams joins me at the beginning of what is about to be a very busy time for you,
yes,
my friend.
So you're catching me when I'm not delirious.
Exactly.
Because I will be for the next 25 hours.
This is the best he's going to be. This is perfect. We got him at just the right time. All right, so let's talk about this. Louisville, USC, Oklahoma State, all of these teams, there were some expectations they'd all be in the tournament, all of them on the outside looking in, all of them a part of this FBI investigation, this recruiting scandal situation. What impact do you think that had on whether they were selected or not?
I think that we are people of habits. And prime example, if I were to get into a car accident and I was speeding, I was going 90 and a 65, I would have to be realistic and understand that when the viewpoint of me came about in a discussion, people would say, well, there's a history of reckless behavior here because Jay Williams did get into a motorcycle accident. That's just the way our society likes to overall assess things. So, yes, I think that played a small factor into it a little bit, considering that everybody in the committee understood that these teams have all gone through the FBI investigation. I also don't think that those teams, in particular Louisville, did enough in their non-conference to really help them. And they only had one win against the field, which was Florida State. So that's concerning. As far as this Oklahoma State and USC, I don't see how Oklahoma State's not in the field.
I mean, it's shocking, right?
It's ridiculous because if you play in the Big 12, you're not going to schedule a crazy non-conference schedule because you play in the best conference in America and you play 18 games. So for them, when you beat the likes of Kansas twice, you beat West Virginia, you beat Texas Tech, you beat Oklahoma, who a team that was on the bubble, I don't see how you don't get in the field. And then USC, granted, they didn't have the best non-conference schedule, but they finished second in the Pac-12. But yet you give a team in Arizona State that finished ninth in the Pac-12 an automatic bid. So that's concerning.
A lot of arguments about that. A lot of arguments about the quadrant system. I mean, this is a big one. Look, you're like, don't get me started. What did you think What do you think about how that system is working? Because you know why it's there, right? But Power 5 conference is made out like bandits.
Well, first off, it's like we just can't keep things simple anymore these days. We have to keep adding on layer after layer. No. Yeah. And now the quad one win that kind of values the road win more so over the home win against teams in RPI. It's essentially the same RPI system. Yeah. But the reason why I don't like it, if you're a mid-major, you have no chance anymore. Especially as these conferences try to make more money, they start playing more games. You know, Big 12 goes from 18 to 20 games, whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. They have more bites at the apple. So essentially, if you're a team like Middle Tennessee that scheduled a great non-conference schedule, but then lose your conference tournament, you don't have a chance to add any more quad 1 or quad 2 wins. Whereas if you're a team like Oklahoma State, even though they didn't go deep into the tournament, the Big 12 tournament, you're going to have a chance to get 3 or 4 more quad 1 wins or quad 2 wins just due to the fact that the Big 12 has those type of teams with those great RPIs. Yeah. So it's much more of an advantage for the big dog than it is for a smaller dog.
You know, the other thing we were noticing about the tournament, a number of teams are making their coaches making a lot of money from getting into the tournament. Yeah. I mean, we see this. You look at the graphic, which we'll show in a second. You've got coaches. There you go. Leonard Hamilton making $250, Kelvin Sampson $200 and more. Players still not getting paid. Now, look, that's not going to happen anytime soon. But when you look at those numbers, do you think that starts to build an argument for, hey, why aren't players getting compensated?
We've been building an argument for 20 years now. The reality is that within our society, we live in this multitude of different schemes or different narratives that come across the table via social media or news that change the narrative constantly. So we lose sight of it. So now, you know, we just had a story where I said this the other day where I was like, I'm tired of African-American assistant coaches falling on the sword for coaches, or we're making these things about how players should boycott if they are talking about boycott. That's already gone. We're focused on the tournament now. So I have another one for you. And I know we talk about coaches. How about Bubba Cunningham, who's athletic director for North Carolina, 2016 for North Carolina, just making the tournament, $56,000. 2018, $61,000 bonus for the AD, just for the team making the tournament. That's not talking about North Carolina getting to the Final Four or winning the whole thing. This is the business for everybody else but the player.
All right, one quick thing. Who's your pick to win?
I have Arizona, just because I want to stir the pot.
Okay.
And I think they're the best team in the country. It's going to be interesting if they win the whole thing and if it's scrubbed eventually.
All right, so Arizona. Now everybody can fill out their brackets. There you go.
There you go.
Jay, good to see you.
Thank you for having me. Well, I'm not delirious.
David Robinson's a phenomenal athlete.
The consensus first-team All-American. He's done everything in Navy.
He's 7'1", 235 pounds.
He's a complete basketball player.
You'll hear teams say it over and over again. The goal is not just to make it to the big dance, but to win it all or to have that memorable run. Fans of Navy know what that's like. In 1986, they stunned the nation by making it to the Elite Eight. The Admiral, David Robinson, was the man at the helm, carrying that team with 27.5 points and nearly 6 blocks per game during the tournament. Now he's helping to lead an organization of perhaps even greater importance, the Commission on College Basketball, chaired by former Secretary of State Dr. Condoleezza Rice, established in the wake of the FBI recruiting scandal to help protect the integrity of college sports and promote transparency and accountability in the sport. And Basketball Hall of Famer and 10-time NBA All-Star David Robinson joins us, courtesy of Dove Men's Plus Care and their Real Strength Manifesto March Madness campaign. David, so great to have you with us. So it's tournament time. We're all fired up. I wonder if at this point you start thinking about all the experiences you had in the NCAA tournament. What are some of your best memories from the tournament?
Wow, it's for playing at a mid-major like Navy, we got a chance to come on a big stage, and I'll never forget us playing LSU my sophomore year, playing against some great players on that LSU team. John Williams as a freshman. And then the next round going and playing against Maryland with Lenny Bias and that group, for us, that was a super highlight. And the NCAA gave me a great stage to show what I could do.
It sure did. And you've spoken passionately about what the college experience provides for young people. I want to play you some sound from something you said just a few months ago about how important college can be for young people. Let's take a listen.
We all acknowledge that this athletic career lifespan is a short window. And it's a great opportunity for these kids and these families. And I would argue that we should try to help them achieve what they need to achieve, whether it's in college or whether it's in the pros, and have the benefit of them on our campuses and experiencing a different world, a new world, and opening their horizons I just think we should make a strong argument for them to be on campus.
It's a great point, opening up a new world for them from being on campus and experiencing the college life. You know, Adam Silver has been talking about a possible willingness to do away with one and done. We've heard the union give, they seem to feel the same way. Where do you stand on one and done?
Well, I mean, I'm not a big fan of it. I think that if a kid has the opportunity to play in the NBA, I mean, it's just like a really talented young musician or anything else. If you're really talented, go on and do what you do. Pursue your career. But, you know, college is obviously a great platform, and I want the dialogue to change. I think right now, a lot of the players feel like the NCAA hasn't been working on their side. But the NCAA, the institutions, are there for these kids, and really the opportunity is tremendous. And if we can make sure that we present that opportunity in a way where they see the benefit from being there. I'm the other example of the one and done. I'm the opposite. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm the guy who went to college, and because of the NCAA, because of the tournament, it gave me a tremendous platform to show everyone what I could do, and that's where a huge chunk of my success came from. So I'm a good argument for going to college for a couple of years.
So then what can the NCAA do to show kids, as you mentioned, that they are on their side, that their benefits, that they put the kids first?
Well, I mean, I think they've taken some of the steps already, you know, financially really providing at least a little bit of cushion for kids who come in as student athletes and allowing them to be able to take care of some minor incidental expenses and making sure that they don't feel like they have to go out and, you know, do some bad things to go get some money, and they can wait and see the opportunity to actually go play pro. So I think they've made some steps. Obviously, you know, with the punishments and all those sort of things, you know, kids feel like it's an adversarial relationship, and it shouldn't be that way. I mean, if you do bad things, you should get punished, but it shouldn't feel like people are out to get you.
Okay, and one final thing here. What do you hope to achieve at the end of the day with the commission?
Well, I mean, for me, it's been an amazing experience. The commission consists of some really wonderful people. It's an independent commission, so we don't feel like we owe the NCAA anything or anybody. We just wanted to get the facts. We've gotten a chance to talk to a lot of the constituents, get some great information, and hopefully we can help make some recommendations that are going to make this whole platform work a little bit better for everyone.
David Robinson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Glad to be in.
Ndamukong Suh, Adrian Peterson expected to get their walking papers today. What are teams thinking? Adam Schefter, Louis Riddick, when we come back.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like I'm on top of the world.
Disclaimer, you will not be transported to the top of the world. In the unlikely event you find yourself at the Arctic Circle, seek shelter from the elements immediately to avoid frostbite and or hypothermia. Geico will not be responsible if you find yourself in a cave or crevasse with a lonely abominable snowman, who in all likelihood will force you to play games including but not limited to Go Fish, charades, Chinese checkers, or his personal favorite, Red Rover, send Yeti on over. Geico is not liable for any damages, either physical or emotional.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Get up for the love of sports, starting April 2nd and every weekday, ESPN 7 a.m. Get up, get sports, get going.
Here's more stuff that matters. Today, the World Series champion Houston Astros, they're taking a break from the grind of spring training to pay a visit to the White House. One player who won't be in attendance, former Astro Carlos Beltran, who has been critical of the administration's handling of the relief efforts in his native Puerto Rico. But Beltran insists that his absence is not about politics. Well, Vegas is back on board with Tiger Woods, a 14-time major champion, tied for second at this weekend's Valspar Championship, one stroke behind the winner, Paul Casey. Tiger's best result on the tour since 2013 has prompted Westgate to lower his odds at next month's Masters to 10-1, third best in the field. Now, Woods opened at 100-1 when opening odds were released last August. And Greece has suspended its soccer league indefinitely, one day after Ivan Savitas, the owner of PAOK FC, marched onto the field with a holstered pistol on his waist shortly after his team lost on a disputed 90th minute goal. Now, police are investigating Savitas, who holds a gun license, for illegal entry onto the field. The NFL offseason has gotten off to an eventful start, to say the least. First, Seattle put the boom on its vaunted defense. Michael Bennett shipped off to the Eagles. Then the surprise release of cornerback Richard Sherman, who signed a deal within days with the 49ers. And with teams having until Wednesday to get down to the NFL salary cap of just over $177 million, the list of former All-Pros getting cut or moved is growing. Today alone, it's been reported that Ndamukong Suh and Adrian Peterson are expected to get their walking papers. Now, one superstar whose job is always seen as safe, Odell Beckham Jr., but now he's in hot water after an aspiring French model posted on her Instagram page a picture of the star wide receiver smoking what appears to be a blunt. Now, he's denied that, saying it's actually pizza. All this making for a drama-filled offseason just 45 days before the draft that feels like it's only just begun. Our NFL gurus, Adam Schefter, Louis Riddick, joining us. All right, so let's start by talking about Odell Beckham. I mean, this thing that's out there on Instagram, how does that impact him at this point?
Well, it absolutely impacts him because now it's going to cause Giants ownership, Dave Gettleman, the general manager, to sit back and really have to investigate something more in addition to the fact that they already had their reservations about just what exactly should we invest in Odell long term, how soon should we do it, what should be the commitment, how much can we trust him. All these questions now kind of get amplified because, look, the optics of that video are not good. You don't know exactly what's going on there, but now what it's going to do is it just increases the likelihood that you are going to be reluctant to go ahead and be forthcoming with offering someone a big contract at this point in time. And it's a real concern. I can tell you, look, I was in there. I talked to these people. Yeah. I know it's one of the number one things on their plate. What do we do with Odell? How soon do we invest in him? Will he hold out during training camp if you don't? I mean, there's a lot of questions that are going on where now he's given the team very good reason to go ahead and push the pause button.
Now first, I think they have to investigate that and see exactly what that is all about because, again, in speaking to one person in the Beckham camp, they're saying the tape is not what you think. And that's fine. But what does that mean?
That's the comment.
Explain it to us.
Right.
What does that show? Did somebody make up the video? We don't know the answers to those questions. So we'll leave that to the New York Giants to get those answers.
Yep.
Beyond that, it's another incident. And these are the types of incidents that he can't have. He can't have them at a time where he's angling for a new contract, where Mike Evans on Friday gets a 5-year, $82.5 million extension with $55 million guaranteed. If you want a deal like that, your behavior, everything that you do must be beyond reproach. You can't even have any margin of error. You can't give the team, whatever happened, any more reasons for them to talk about you, think about you, or have any concerns
It's always about trust.
Yeah.
It's always about trust, and the team is going to minimize risk to themselves long term. And this right here, look, it's going to call into question trust. And how much risk are we taking? It's really not that difficult. You don't do these kinds of things when you're angling to be one of the highest paid players, not just at your position, but in the NFL, period.
Yeah.
And that's what he wants. Well, in order to do that comes a great responsibility to not have your face showing up on videos like this, even if it is innocent. You just can't do it.
Well, we'll see what happens if that investigation ensues. All right, so let's talk about some of the veteran moves that have been happening. Stream now of guys getting cut. Now we're hearing it's expected that Ndamukong Suh, Adrian Peterson getting their walking papers. Richard Sherman, his new deal with the 49ers. Talk to me about this, because is this sort of a trend or a part of a strategy? We've seen veterans get cut before, obviously, asked to come back at a lower number. They say no, and then you see them moving on. But is there something different about what we're seeing now?
This is completely normal. This is what happens every year. We can go get the big names in free agency from 3 years ago and look 3 years later, and a good number of them will be released 3 years in time. Ndamukong Suh is a player who's been a really good player for Miami. He's just been paid like a quarterback and hasn't performed like that. And I think the organization has had some concerns. And the organization has shown very little patience and tolerance for any type of behavior. And they've shown the willingness to move on from everybody. They traded Jay Ajayi. They traded away Jarvis Landry. They're now going to be moving on from Ndamukong Suh. And I think that there's a certain level of impatience and aggressiveness that now is reflected in a move that 3 years or so ago was hailed as the number one free agent move when he signed on the opening day of
I wonder what message that sends to free agents that they're trying to bring in, though.
Well, really, really, it's an economic principle.
Yeah.
It's just about surplus value, your projected performance value relative to your cost. And especially when you become an older player who's getting up there at 29, 30, 31 years old. And if you're someone where you're talking about what message are they sending to their own locker room and to other free agents, when you start to become a headache, that's a problem. And what they're sending the message to other players is, if you're going to come in here, toe the line, be a program guy. That is the next frontier. Actually, it's really not the next frontier, but that is something that is so important to teams now. That's where teams are getting a competitive advantage. It's about culture. Culture. You're going to hear it more and more and more. The Super Bowl champions this year, they swear by it. They swear that is the reason why they won this year. Obviously, they had some pretty good performances. That is what people are looking for now.
But does culture create winning, or does winning create culture?
It kind of goes hand in hand.
Really quick.
You can't separate.
Really quick, want to get your thoughts. What are the Browns doing? What message are they sending?
They're sending a message to other free agents that Cleveland is back. They're done losing. They're tired of losing. They're turning things around. That's why they had 4 trades in a 24-hour span.
All right, a lot of action there. A lot of action around the NFL. Guys, thank you so much. More with Adam and Lewis, by the way, on NFL Live coming up at the bottom of the hour. Guys, appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, what do the Cleveland Browns, speaking of them, have in common with the Webster's Dictionary's newest word? That's coming up.
It's a normal day. You're rushing out the door to get to work on time when suddenly, there it is, the dreaded service light. So what is it this time? Tire pressure, low coolant, time for an oil change? When it comes to service lights, head to Jiffy Lube. We've got you covered. Drive in today and make the switch to Pennzoil. Ask for Pennzoil Synthetics, getting you back on the road in a jiffy. Jiffy Lube, leave worry behind.
There is only one undefeated team that will be playing in the NCAA tournament, and that is the UConn women's team. At 32-0, the Huskies have finished the regular season ranked the #1 team in the land for the 5th straight year. And tonight we'll have the exclusive live announcement of the 64-team NCAA Women's Championship field again this year, 7 Eastern on ESPN with a bonus hour of coverage at 8 on ESPNU. They're going to break down every team, every matchup in each region. And then Sports Center after Heat Blazers on ESPN, Stan and Neil. They're going to show you a side of Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum that you have never seen before. Plus, could the Spurs actually miss the playoffs in the highly contested West? And we got reactions from Venus and Serena after their third round match at Indian Wells. Now, what do you think of when you hear this? An utterly calamitous or mismanaged situation or occurrence, a disaster. Yes, I think you're thinking of Merriam-Webster's newest edition, dumpster fire. Or wait, were you thinking of the Cleveland Browns? If you think I'm picking on the Browns, by the way, let's not forget that this was spotted outside of the Browns Stadium after their 4th loss on their way to a winless season. Now, the dumpster fire, seemingly nonstop in recent years, missing out last season on A.J. McCarron because they didn't fax in the trade papers at the deadline. All of their 10 first-rounders between 2009 and 2015 gone. Heck, even their fired assistant coaches appreciate the irony of the team's situation. They held their going-away bash at the aptly named bar Rock Bottom. Folks, the motto, embrace the suck, well, that's part of Browns' life right now. But after this weekend, are the Browns coming out of the dumps? Laugh at Sashi Brown at your own peril. He stockpiled a Sam Hinkie-esque $114 million in cap space. The Browns have 6 picks in the first 65 of this year's draft. And new GM John Dorsey, well, he used some of that stuff to bring in some of the most solid options you've seen in a while at Cleveland. Solid quarterback option in Tyrod Taylor, all-pro receiver Jarvis Landry, many others. Now, look, the jury is out on whether these deals will translate into wins. But maybe, just maybe, when you turn to dumpster fire in the dictionary, the Browns won't be there. Well, that's it for us today on Outside the Lines. Coming up on NFL Live, more information on the Odell Beckham situation. Keep it right here on ESPN.
Hey there, I'm a glue stick, so I have one job. I glue kid stuff. So sorry for being jealous of Geico, who does a ton more, like give you 24/7 access to thousands of licensed agents. And Geico has been around for over 75 years and has a 97% customer satisfaction rating. While I've just got mediocre adhesive skills, Geico also has an award-winning mobile app. Uh-oh, arts and crafts time. No eating the glue stick. Miss Lydia!
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.